This Health Ranger Report Pandemic Podcast is brought to you by NaturalNews.com for uncensored reporting and HealthRangerStore.com for lab-tested preparedness supplies such as storable food, full-face medical masks, biostructured silver first aid gel, and iodine, only while supplies last. Right now, you know something that most Americans don't know, or Canadians, if you're living there. You know that the coronavirus is coming to North America. The CDC knows it as well, and the U.S. military knows it as well. They just activated the military pandemic preparedness plans, NORTHCOM. We did a story about that on Natural News. You can see that. There's a specific executive order that activates the entire U.S. military and its pandemic plans. The CDC head has now come out in an interview with CNN and said that they know this is going to have outbreaks in America. On the record, he calls them community outbreaks. That's actually a phrase that Dr. Massonier used also in the CDC the day before. Dr. Nancy Massonier, she was saying, we know there are going to be community outbreaks. The head of the CDC is saying that they're just trying to buy time so that they can make vaccines. And stopping these so-called community outbreaks is a strategy of containment. It's a losing battle. Ultimately, they know they can't win this. They know it's going to go nationwide. Because if you have community outbreaks, how do you contain it to a community? It goes state level and then it goes nationwide. It just covers the whole continent. That's coming. The CDC knows it. The military knows it. You know it. Most people don't know it yet. So you actually have extremely valuable information right now. You can see the future. In a very real sense, you can see the future. It's as if there were a giant asteroid heading for Earth and you had a telescope and you could see it and you could calculate the trajectory and you knew it was going to impact 100%. It was going to knock out a continent or half the planet. You knew that information, but the people around you didn't. That's the situation you're in right now, except it's not an asteroid, it's a pandemic. It's not going to kill everybody on the planet, but it's going to kill maybe 10, 15%, we'll see, of those who are infected. And how many could be infected? According to estimates of doctors and scientists out of Hong Kong, 60 to 80% of the population of the world. So, I mean, just do the math here. We're talking about, 6 billion people could be infected? And if the death rate is 10%, that's 600 million deaths. Okay, if it's 5%, it's 300 million deaths. I mean, if we get out of this with fewer than 100 million deaths, I'll be very surprised. Now, the CDC is playing this delaying tactic, but they already know this is going to go all across the country. And yet, see, the reason this is so important, because most people, they really can't think ahead. They can't plan ahead. So they're not calculating the repercussions of this. What happens? I mean, let's just start with something really simple. Election, November of this year. What happens if this has a major outbreak in California before the election? And Los Angeles is probably where it's going to have a big outbreak for a number of reasons. A lot of illegal immigration into Los Angeles, but also air pollution is linked to respiratory vulnerability that makes the virus worse. That's come out in studies as well. So you have a polluted city with lots of immigrants, sanctuary status. So infected people from Mexico, they come across the border and they head right for the sanctuary city, and then they spread the virus. What happens if it's election day and the people in the cities in California and New York and Chicago, they're all under quarantine? Well, you're going to get a very low turnout of Democrats. You're going to have a blowout of rural America where the virus is less likely to spread. Rural Americans who tend to be Trump supporters. So you're going to see a massive, probably landslide for Trump if that situation unfolds. But that's just one scenario of many. What if the virus infects Trump and he's killed by it? Right? I mean, we're talking about black swan events here. What if the infections go nationwide well before the election and Trump, he fumbles the whole situation, and then Bernie Sanders comes out and says, free healthcare for everyone, you know, in an outbreak situation. And then suddenly Bernie Sanders becomes president because Trump is doing nothing to deal with the virus, which has been his position so far, also doing nothing to deal with big tech censorship. We could end up with a communist president. All right. So that's just a couple of scenarios to think about. But the bigger scenario, really, the bigger picture is economic collapse. The stock market is a bubble. It's going to crash as soon as anybody comes to their senses. We're going to have people not showing up for work. We're going to have logistics, supply problems. We're going to have food shelves bare. 70 to 80% of the medicines that we use in America are actually manufactured in China, and the shortages have begun. The food shortages have begun as well. We were talking to one of our suppliers, I think just 2 days ago, trying to order millet for our preparedness buckets. And they said, this is the last 5,000 pounds we have. All the millet is gone because everybody's shifting away from buying food from China and they're buying from other countries. Now, we've always sourced outside of China, which means that even the sources we use are now getting hammered by other commercial purchasers. Millet is almost gone for the season. There won't be more millet until the next harvest comes in. And China, its harvest is highly questionable that they will even be able to export all their food because the farmers can't bring it into the cities for processing and exportation because the cities are closed down. So how's China going to export food? And most of your supplements and a lot of your food staples and so on, like even like millet and legumes and so on, comes out of China. So we're going to have global food shortages because of this. Not to mention the fact that even at a local level, your city may be under quarantine. This is going to get bad. The average person is not considering this yet. So again, to reiterate, you know something that most people don't know. And you have accurate information when they have no information. You know that this is going to spread in America. You know the cities are going to become the death zones. You know this may impact elections. That's a possibility. It will definitely impact logistics and food supplies. You know this will eventually impact the stock market. What are you going to do with this information? This is once in a lifetime crystal ball type stuff. It's like you can see the future. What are you going to do with this information? Well, I'll tell you what I'm doing. Well, if I lived in a city, which I don't, but if I did, I would get out in the next 4 months. Secondly, I would get out of the stock market, at least the upside of it. I would move to gold and silver and maybe some short-term treasuries if you need some cash. Something that's super safe, super conservative. But gold and silver is going to skyrocket when this thing hits America. I would also prepare for medical quarantines and mandatory vaccinations, door-to-door, enforced by gunpoint. In fact, let me tell you something really shocking right now. I think the United States government will shut off all websites that are, quote, anti-vax websites that oppose the coronavirus vaccine. We may literally find ourselves in a situation here where I have to publicly say, everybody go take this vaccine. Otherwise, my website is taken down. Imagine that. Imagine that. And I'm telling you this now, way ahead of time. That situation may not unfold for 6 months or 12 months or longer because this is a multi-year outbreak. But there may be a day where you hear me say, oh, everybody go get this vaccine. And if I say that, you should know right now that that is actually, that's someone has a gun in my head. So I'm giving you the warning now. If I say that, someone has a gun in my head. Because that's what this is coming to. Every medical martial law crackdown measure, the draconian crackdown in China, is probably coming to America. They will probably quarantine people against their will. They'll probably declare essentially a medical martial law. And if the CDC says that you have the virus, they can kidnap you and take you away without any testing whatsoever. And they will probably do that to go after their enemies or so-called anti-vaxxers, for example. So I want you to be aware of all of this that's coming. And just to give you an idea of how serious this is, I'm meeting with my staff and discussing business continuity plans. Can we continue to function? Can we even buy raw materials? Can we even ship to our customers from Health Ranger Store? Can we even keep our servers running to publish content? How do our servers continue to function if the people who maintain them are quarantined at home and can't come to work? How does anything in society function? We're dealing with some very serious, it's almost hard to overstate this. Let me put it this way. This virus is going to change human history. We're going to see the fall of governments. We're going to see revolutions and geopolitical instability. We're going to see chaos. We're going to see mass death and suffering. We're going to see economies crater. Businesses suffer mass bankruptcies across the world. What you've seen so far is only just the beginning. Nothing compared to what's coming. And yet, you have this knowledge ahead of time. You know gold and silver are going to skyrocket. You know that what's coming is going to challenge the very sustainability of human society as we know it. So the question is, what are you going to do with this information? The average person in America or Canada or Europe, whatever, the average person will hear this information and they will say to themselves, well, I don't feel it's going to be that bad. And that lack of strategic decision-making can literally get them killed or cause them to lose their life savings or cause them to lose their business, cause them to end up in a death camp quarantine. There are some very, very bad, repercussions from making the wrong choice. And you need to be aware of these right now. So stay informed. Keep reading my website, naturalnews.com, and listen to my podcast at brighteon.com. Thanks for listening. When it comes to prepping, you not only need good products that can help keep you alive, awake, aware, and nourished during difficult times, you also need products you can trust. At the Health Ranger Store, we do extensive laboratory testing using an in-house lab that's ISO accredited. It's inspected, it's audited. It's a 2-year process to even get that accreditation. We use multiple mass spec instruments, state-of-the-art science. I'm a published science author as well and a patent holder on several technologies, some of which we use variations of in our lab. The purpose of this lab is to help you make sure you get clean foods, superfoods, storable foods for emergency preparedness and survival use. We have a certified organic lab-tested, what's called Ranger Bucket collection of storable foods with some survival gear in the buckets to help you even boil water and cook those foods and so on. It's a fantastic product. We can barely keep it in stock even during normal times. In a crisis, we'll be wiped out of this product because it actually takes us a lot of time to make those products. But if they're in stock, you can get them now at healthrangerstore.com/prepwithmike. In fact, go to that URL, healthrangerstore.com/prepwithmike, and you'll see some of our survival and preparedness supplies, including iodine, colloidal silver products and gel first aid products, storable foods, superfoods, medicinal herbs for first aid, and much more. We have a lot of products for you to help you be self-reliant, to be safe, to survive difficult circumstances, natural disasters, and all kinds of things. If you want to get prepared, do it with us at the Health Ranger Store so that you know you're getting safe, clean, laboratory-verified preparedness foods, supplements, and other related products. Again, the URL is healthrangerstore.com/prepwithmike. All one word, no spaces. Prep with Mike. I'm Mike Adams. Thank you for your support. Thank you for watching. If you want to support our mission, visit us at healthrangerstore.com for the world's largest selection of lab-verified superfood and nutritional products for healthy living. It's at healthrangerstore.com.